In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use the new offset DAX function in Power BI. I'm going to show you the syntax of how you can write it. And I'm also going to show you a real life scenario of when this function could be useful. All of that and more. So without further ado, let's get started. Hi, my name is Fernan and welcome to the Solutions Abroad YouTube channel, where we cover tips, tricks, and best practices when working with Power BI. I upload new videos every week, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified when a new one is out. So the function that we will cover today is a brand new function that was released as part of probably the August update. And in fact, it's so new that there's not even a documentation for it. Even the IntelliSense in Power BI Desktop doesn't recognize it. However, it works. I only learned about it because I saw a few of my peers using it and demonstrating it. So I thought I'd cover how you can start using it for yourself. Offset is essentially a modifier that allows you to compare data between a set of results. So if you work with Excel, for example, you'll be familiar with this because offset already exists there. And it basically allows you to get the data above or below, usually to compare the difference. Offset is very similar to date add or other variations of this function like previous period, previous month, previous quarter, previous day, etc. Except those functions only work with comparing dates, whereas offset works on other dimensions as well, that is not the date field. It sounds a little bit confusing, so let me show you with an example. Here's the report that we are going to be working on today. As usual, we are working with the Northwind dataset, which is data on sales of this fictional company that sells goods internationally. We have a few tables here that we can use, but essentially what we have and what we'll try to show is the sales for each of those different products. So we have a few tables that we can work with. We have the order details table, which has a list of all the orders and all the products within them, along with how many were ordered and at what price. We have the orders table, which just has details about when the order was made. We have products, which is a list of all the product names in those orders, as well as the category of those different products. We have a separate one here, a recruitment table, but I will show you that a little bit later in the demo. For now, we'll focus on the Northwind dataset, and the only thing that I have pre-prepared here is the relationship between all of these tables, which is not the focus of this demo. I've also created a measure here to make it easy for us, and I want to visualize the sales for each of, or for all of these orders, which I am already calculating here in this measure, which simply multiplies the unit price to the quantity. So now let's start by bringing in the product name and the sales for each of these products. So we'll sort it ascending order, so alphabetically by product. That's how we have this table. And let's say we want to calculate the difference between these products in alphabetical order. So for example, the aniseed syrup, we want to compare against the Alice mutton. Let's say that scenario is what you are given. And for you to do that, for each of the row, you need to know what the context is so that you can get the value previous cell for the product above. And the offset, the new measure, should allow you to calculate and get this value quite easily. So we're going to start by creating a new measure here. We're going to create, let's say, offset products, or maybe a better name would be a difference, product sales difference. And then from here, we were going to use a calculate, so we can use this offset modifier. First, we're going to use and refer to the sales as our expression. And then in our filter context, we need to add a couple of things here. So first, we're going to use the offset as our filter context. And offset takes three different parameters. First is how you want to offset, or how many you want to offset your data by. And let's use -1 just as an example because we want the previous value. Next, we need to define the field that will determine the offset function. So what the offset function will offset with or by. So in this case, we're gonna use all selected and say ignore all filters in the product name like this. And then the last parameter, we'll use a new function again, order by, which essentially organizes the table that we want to offset by to the right order. Now, in this case, we're gonna use and say organize this by product name, and I want this in ascending order. Now you'll see that there's no IntelliSense, and it gives us this squiggly line, which normally will break this function, but you'll see that if I hit enter, there is no error in this measure. It works. So let me show you how that looks like now. So can you see what's happening here? So for each of the products, you simply have the sales as usual. Then the product sales difference, you have the sale of the previous product in this order. So you have the Alice mutton product sales, and then for the Boston crab meat is comparing, or it gets the value, the sales for the product above it. You can change the offset value, or how many values you want to look back up, by changing the value here. Instead of -1, let's say you want to go -2. You'll see that the table changes that accordingly, so it looks at the value from 2 products up. You can also look forward by just changing this into a positive. So let's say if we just change it into 2, you'll see that it looks 2 products forward. If you want to calculate the difference between the sales of your current product against the product above it, we'll just put this back into -1. And then from here, we'll simply just say, give me sales minus the previous sales. So you will see that it gives us now the difference between the sales for this product compared to the previous one, which is pretty easy. So now that you know how offset works, let me show you a practical example of it, because this example doesn't make sense. You wouldn't do this in this type of scenario. So I've imported here a simple table. You'll notice here that is not part of the Northwind dataset. It's just a simple table with a list of all the stages in a recruitment process. You will have the count, or first the different stages that you have from the people visiting into your recruitment site, all the way to how many you have hired. Each of these counts represent the number of candidates on each of those stages, which we will use and we will try to compare against. I've also imported and created this row order, which essentially defines how the stages are sorted. And this is important because instead of ordering these stages by alphabetical order, which doesn't make sense, this order column defines the stage order based on the recruitment process. So you can set that and make sure if you are using this that you set your sort column to the order. So now let's delete this and bring in the stages and the count. So it will give you the how many candidates did we have on each of the stages. Remove the total like this. So let's say one of our tasks is to calculate the percentage of candidates that goes through in between each of these stages, and the offset function is the best function that you would use in this scenario. So let's start by creating a new measure. So let's start a new measure here, and let's create this a recruitment percentage. It will be a funnel, and we'll say calculate. And then from here, we didn't create an expression, so we'll just get the count from the recruitment table here. And then we'll follow the same thing as before. So we'll use offset. We want to compare against the previous one, so -1. We'll use all selected here, and let's just use recruitment. So let's say just offset it with the recruitment table. And in the order by, you have to make sure that you're using the order column, because that will determine the ordering of your offset. So now if we hit enter, you will see that if I drag this now in our table here, voila. So now you'll see that on applications we have 320, and you have the value of the recruitment of the previous stage here, which we can now use to calculate the percentage. Pretty easy. So let's do that final bit just to complete this this scenario. So we'll wrap this calculation that we have into a previous variable, which we will use within a return, and we'll use a divide to calculate the percentage, and I believe it should be sum of counts. Get that right. And then the denominator would be obviously the previous, and -1. That will just give us the 100% value for the percentage. If we hit enter, change the format of this measure into a percentage, and we'll leave it to 0. So now in this table you can see the recruitment funnel percentage change between all of these stages. So you can see that 43% of our visitors we received applications for, 69% got interviews, etc., etc. And that's really it for this video. I hope you're now a little bit more familiar with this new DAX function offset and how you can use this in your Power BI reports. Thanks for watching. As usual, give this video a like if you found it useful. Give it a dislike if you didn't, so I know to do better for next time. Ask your questions in the comment section box below so I can help you and you can help others. If you like this video, we have a Patreon page where you can support the channel and get exclusive perks like early access, demo files, and credits at the end of these videos. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.